Hi, I'm Jack. I'm from London, but I live in York, and I'm a composer and sound artist, and I've been creating the music for the digital piece with the National Orchestra for All.
I'm Bryony. I'm from the Midlands, but I've lived in Australia and in a van in Spain. I am an artist and a filmmaker, and I've been working with NOFA to make this digital collage.
The kind of backbone of the project is essentially about youth voice, getting young people to kind of access their creativity in a way within this kind of structure that we've kind of offered, essentially. And it's about their kind of NOFA journeys. It's about them creating stuff and giving us material, essentially, to work with. From a musical point of view, we did a bunch of like little compositional exercises and workshops, and tried to encourage the young people of NOFA to create their own work. And then what I've done essentially is taken their recorded samples and I've constructed the work digitally, which means that all of the material that we'll hear in the final piece is going to be the NOFA members' work completely. It's like you will hear it in kind of a form that is very similar to the one that they will have sent it to me, and obviously you kind of add things together and put effects on and so on and so forth, but it's their recording in the piece, which I think is actually like quite unique. I don't think I've heard of many other people sort of, or organizations doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's the whole kind of project is called The Way We See It, and so when Jack and I were both kind of independently commissioned but then started to talk to one another, we realized that both of our kind of individual art forms have a lot of parallels. So I'm working in collage, mainly analog, but also digital, so taking like paper and found mediums. But Jack's also working in kind of digital music and remixes. So bringing this kind of concept of remix and collage together, we sort of realized that there's sort of two parts, and that's almost how we ran the whole 4 days worth of workshops, was both collecting media and also then talking about composition. So until the very end, there was this lovely like combined thread between what Jack was doing with the music side of things and what I was doing with the visual side of things. Both collecting this media, which might have been found sounds, it was recordings of the young people making noises on their instruments, melodic sections, rhythmic sections, but also then found imagery for me. So colours, photographs, abstractions. And that, as Jack said, is the content from which we've created these compositions, which we've been completely sort of curated and directed by the young people. And we've been working with their visual scores and their graphic scores and their written ideas to sort of be their hands and their eyes and take their content, the media, and then create the composition that they've directed us to do. And that kind of like dual visual and musical process, but then also actually using the content to create the composition, has been wonderful, because I think probably a lot of the time you're either a performer or you're a composer, whereas in this they were kind of both. They were taking the photos, they were making the recordings, but then they were also telling us how they wanted to turn that into a piece.
Because we were working with so much material, and we were both really keen on showcasing all of the material that we kind of got in, that we got sent by the young people. There was this kind of process of like, before even starting, like structuring the work, and we, as Bryony said, we worked off these like graphic scores that the young people had produced, and I created this like master graphic score based on all of the young people's graphic scores. So it kind of goes through a lot of moods and ideas. We kind of start off with this quite kind of sparse texture with these kind of lovely chords that the young people had provided, between the kind of strings and the brass, these like drawn out chords. And then we move into a more like chaotic, slightly ambient, but quite kind of loud and kind of exciting section. And then we finish with this kind of more rhythmic, kind of playing together feel. So throughout the workshops, we kind of had this idea that we would start off with this idea of kind of everyone sort of, what was the name of the workshop, Bryony? It wasn't. What was the first
Journey
one?
to Nofa.
Member's Journey to Nofa.
Nofa, yeah.
Yeah, so is this kind of like coming together from different parts of the country or different areas, different perspectives, different instruments, different abilities, and everyone kind of slowly, slightly tentatively sort of is joining essentially. And then this middle section is about how we kind of negotiate those musical relationships that we have with people and kind of joining together and thinking like, oh, this is a bit nerve-wracking, but we're starting to get used to each other. And then that final section is like the concert, I guess. It's the moment where we all play together and it's really exciting and everyone's in time and we're kind of in a bit of a flow and everyone's enjoying it.
So visually, I wanted to constantly create these senses of things coming together in a journey without it feeling like a linear sort of start and the end. So we've used elements that they've kind of provided, but snipped them in multiple times, but sort of I want the viewer to see these same graphic elements reoccurring as a motif or as a piece of imagery or as a collage. So yeah, we've used lots of sort of literal references that the young people have told us about, like cogs and journeys, possibly even journeys on a train, small pieces that come together and move in harmony, a heartbeat and a rainbow. So lots of really like great vivid images, but all of that we've attempted to compose purely with the imagery provided by the young people. So there's found footage and things like that, but as Jack said, the beauty of this piece is that most of the composition is made with the photographs and the kind of drawings and the collages that every NOFA member has made for us.
Be creative, and there's absolutely no wrong answer at all. The way that we were kind of encouraging the young people to be creative was encouraging them that there is no wrong answer to what they're doing. There's no like wrong thing to send in. Anything that they send in is valuable, and I think that was a kind of really important message throughout the process, and one that I would certainly give to other young people interested in creating in some form.
I guess I would also add that there's a messiness and a like discomfort associated with collaboration, and I think this has been the ultimate collaboration because it's been a total mashup, and we didn't always have control, not just Jack and I, but every single young person who was part of the process. And that's kind of a painful, but I think a really good lesson. So I hope from the end of this, what we see is that all of these disparate pieces, when brought together, can make something brilliant, but it's never going to be one person's vision. It's going to be everyone's vision. So it is going to sound and feel intense and kind of there's a lot going on, but that's, for me, the beauty of a collaborative process.
I thought it was very, very interesting. It had all the unique elements of people's different ideas put together and how they showed it and portrayed it. I thought it was amazing.
I liked it. It was very like abstract. It was really out there. So like it's very different, but it was really good. I liked it.
I don't know about you, but I just thought it was so cool that you did all of that. The pictures and everything, I'm just absolutely blown away by it. It's amazing. One of my favourite bits is towards the end of the whole piece.
I really liked the train bit where they were like, all travelling and it's all made out of instruments. All the instruments were the scenery, I think.
The bits which showed everyone's canvases. Nearer to the end, that was like really cool to see what everyone made.
One of my favourite bits of that was when, I think it's towards the end of the piece, when the words came up and some of them were like really scrawly from where people had tried to write them on the computer. Some of the words were typed, and I really liked that. I thought it was a really nice way to include everything that we'd done last time in the piece.
I liked it. It let us express our creativity.
I don't know if it was mine, but I think my piano was in there. By the end, I was so interested in it. I wanted to see more because I wanted to get really involved into it, even though I was really amazed how they were able to put that all together. It was so fascinating.
I think it represented us quite well.
It's got the different noises and the different instruments, and it all kind of represents us all as a whole, because we're not all the same, but we're all linked in some way. I think that's why I would be proud of it, because even if I'm like such a small part of it, I can still point out, it's like, oh, that bit there's mine and all this. And I think because because it is such a small part in such a big thing, just having the opportunity to be a part of it all is something to be worth proud of.
My final thoughts on it is that I'm really happy that I was a part of it, that I was able to contribute to all this. It will show them how we're all going on a journey, how we're all trying to figure out where we are and what we want to do and what we want to achieve, and how everyone's different, everyone goes a certain path, and I think it really shows that.